I'm Baratunde Thurston, and this is Clarify, the show breaking down issues that matter to you most this election. Mike and Spotify have joined together to bring you some of the facts that can help inform your November 8th decision. Y'all remember the facts, right? Those small irritants that get in the way of a strongly held opinion? Today, I'll be sitting down with Prophets of Rage, a group combining Rage Against the Machine, Public Enemy, and Cypress Hill. We're going to be talking about income and wealth inequality, which, by the way, aren't the same thing. Income inequality measures the difference in people's salaries. Wealth inequality is the unequal distribution of assets, including things like homes, businesses, and investments. Income inequality has been growing remarkably. This concentration of income at the top hasn't been seen since the 1920s, right before the Great Depression. While that might sound bad, wealth inequality is even worse. Are you sitting down? The top 85 wealthiest people in the world own 50% of all the wealth. 85 people, 50%. Now those 85 people could fit inside 2 Greyhound buses. Of course, they aren't the type to travel by bus, but you get the idea. It feels like the American dream is dying and most of us don't have enough money to buy something nice to wear to the funeral. But how did the wage and wealth gaps get this wide? Mic reporter Natasha Noman is here to help clarify. There has always been a gap of some kind between rich and poor. We see it in early religious documents, in the history of the world. What's different now?
Well, I'm somebody who likes to apply historical context when we're looking at something like this, because I don't think people do that very often. And the more, you see this sort of a trend that's gotten worse since the neoliberal era, and when Thatcher and Reagan were in power in the 80s, where they kind of liberalized markets and they gave the wealthy and powerful more influence over fiscal policy. It's just kind of gotten out of hand and gotten worse, and the more power that they get, the more they've really rigged the system so that it's impossible for anybody, there's essentially no more social and economic meritocracy as a result.
Was there ever social and economic meritocracy?
Yes, I think so. In the golden age of capitalism, which is from the end of the war, so 1945, the end of the Second World War, to 1975, that's when capitalism was at its best. And that was also when inequality was lowest. That's something people keep forgetting, is combating income inequality or inequality of any kind doesn't just benefit those who are vulnerable right now, who are on the brunt of it, but it benefits everybody. Economic growth tends to be higher when there is less income and wealth inequality. If you look at the rate at which CEO compensation has grown between 1978 and 2013, how much do you think it's grown?
Like 1,000%?
Right on the money.
Oh, nailing it.
I kind of want to high five you.
You can high five me.
Yes. I thought you were too far away, but you made it possible. I feel better now.
Never too far for a high five, Natasha.
Yes, good to know. Okay, there are going to be more, just warning you.
So has CEO compensation grown by 1,000% because CEOs are 1,000% better than they were in the 70s?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, because they've gotten more of a handle on the system. Now, comparatively, my next quiz question, how much do you think the average worker's income has increased between 1978 and 2013? Less
than 5%.
Okay, a little better than that.
Ah, yes, I underestimated the people. Yeah. What's the number?
Well done. 10%.
There you go. So workers' wages have grown 10%.
Yeah.
CEOs have grown
at a rate 100 times faster than the average worker.
And are you sure this is not because CEOs have become 100 times more productive, efficient, and effective as the workers that they employ?
Well, the growth rate and the stock market would suggest not, because the rate at which the CEO compensation grew was double that of the rate at which the stock market grew. So no.
Very few people, I think, return to what opened the door, what started this. The combined effect of reduced regulation at the high end of the economy and finance, and increased restrictions at the low end on organizing labor and fighting for fair wages.
Absolutely.
So when you look at CEO compensation, 1,000%, they're at the top of the chain. They own the factories, they have money to play with and investments. And when you look at the bottom end of the scale, the workers, 10% growth, they've been deunionized and it's been made less legal for them to fight for a rise in wages concurrent with their bosses.
And you put it perfectly. Like, that's the irony here. How can you be giving the most powerful and the most wealthy in a country more freedom while you're restricting the most vulnerable and the poorest? If a country has a moral obligation to take care of its citizens, then that makes no sense.
What happens to a society that continues on this path, where income and wealth inequality continue to grow larger?
I don't want to find out. I don't know. This is the worst it's been in a long time, since the Great Depression in the 20s.
But that worked out great.
Oh yeah, no, that was, yes, exactly. It's called great because it was so much fun.
Right, it's called the Great. It's not called like the Sad Depression.
Or the Worst Depression.
It's the Great Depression. This is getting really depressing. And so what I want to ask you is to shine a little hopeful light on this topic. Are people more aware and upset by this than you've seen historically since the early 1980s? And what can be done?
I think income inequality has become part of the political and social zeitgeist increasingly, I mean, especially over the last 5 years. From where I'm standing, that's what it looks like. Income inequality is getting more attention. As for what can be done, I think it's going to be a confluence of policies, fiscal and otherwise. I would also say campaign finance reform plays into this, because the lobbying of the financial sector is so successful, and obviously it seems to be kind of a limitless pool of money. It's very dangerous because it encourages this relationship between politicians and finance.
Is there anything else you want to add on this topic? Maybe something that doesn't make us want to cry?
I don't know.
And burn all the monuments down?
Okay, here's the thing.
All right.
I'm going to make this personal.
Yeah.
Not for you, for me.
Yeah.
I'm half Pakistani. I grew up in a place where I literally saw the only way out of oppressive or abusive circumstances for women was economic empowerment. With a GDP of like roughly 232 billion, and Pakistan being the 6th largest population in the world, it doesn't have a tremendous amount of opportunity to lift people out of poverty and to reduce economic inequality. America's GDP is about $17 trillion. It has everything it needs to tackle this. Like, all the ingredients are there, all the components are there. It's just about arranging them in the right way. And so I am optimistic in that I know it's feasible in America. I know it's possible. And it may take a long time, and it may take a lot of perseverance, but I don't think that it's an impossibility. And so when I'm looking at a place that's so desperate and so, in many ways, like very sad, living in Pakistan, you see children, starving on the street. You look around and you think, well, there's not really a way out of this. But you look around in America and you see an illiterate person earning the minimum wage, a single parent, like, you just think, okay, well, maybe that minimum wage is going to be raised to $15, and that's going to be a complete game changer. And that's not out of the realm of possibility.